Hello, today I'm just going to do a quick review over the ambiguous case of lost signs. You always want to check the ambiguous case if you're not given enough information to do log cosines, and you have to do lost signs with two sides and one angle. So that's the only information you have, two sides, one angle. If the angle is obtuse, if the opposite side is bigger than the adjacent side, then there's going to be one triangle. However, if the opposite side is less than the adjacent side, no triangle is going to be made, and we talked about that in class. Second situation, if angle A is acute, you have to find H, and I'm going to draw that on this triangle here in the middle of the page. You have to find H, okay? And that's what we were talking about in class, where we have to compare the opposite side, A, to H. If A ends up being shorter than H, we can't make a triangle. It's not long enough to close it. If A is in between the size of H and the size of B, then there's two different triangles that we could have, an acute and an obtuse. The second situation we could have is if A is longer than B, there's only going to be one triangle we could possibly make on that. So our first this is the problem we were working in class yesterday. If we have angle A is 42 degrees, little a is 18, and B is 22. Okay, the first thing we're going to see is that when we look at this, we've got an angle and two sides. We don't have enough information to do law of cosines, which is forcing us to do law of sines. So we need to determine if there's 0, 1, or 2 triangles formed. Well, I know A is shorter than B, so it's not going to be one triangle. Second, so I have to find H. And I'm going to do that by using the formula B times sine of A. So 22 times sine of 42 degrees would be 14.72. Since we're seeing that A is in between the 14.7 and the side B, which was 22, then it's going to tell us that there are two triangles going to be made. One acute, one obtuse. So we're going to always start by solving the acute one first, then we're going to finish by solving the obtuse one. Okay, so triangle number 1 is acute. So I've got my triangle set up here with 42 degrees down in the bottom left. I've got 18 on the opposite side A, and I've got 22 on my adjacent side B. So I set up my law of sines. A over sine A equals B over sine B. 18 over sine 42 equals 22 over sine B. Cross multiply, and I set it up, and I get sine of B is equal to 0.817. I do my arc sine, and that gives me B is 54.9 degrees. So I'm going to find angle C by doing my angle sum theorem. So I've got 42 and 54.9. I'm going to subtract those two from 180, which leaves me with 83.1. I would work through the law of sines again to find side C. Now that's going to be our first triangle. Our second triangle is going to be very easy. The thing to remember though is this 54.9. That's going to show up in the next problem. On the next problem, what I'm going to do is, now that it's an obtuse angle down in the bottom right hand corner with angle B, what we're going to do is we're going to find our B2. This is our second B. What we're going to do is we're going to do 180 minus the answer from the last problem. So we're going to do 180 minus 54.9. Tells us that B this time is going to be 125.1. Now, for me to finish solving this, I've got angle B, I need angle C and side C. So I do C is equal to 180 and the triangle sum theorem with the angles. So 180 degrees minus 42 plus 125.1, which forces C to be 12.9 degrees. We would repeat the law of sines process, which is going to give us C is equal to 6.006. Okay, so this is one of the try these on the examples that I sent out just a few minutes ago, where we'd have A is 55 degrees, B is 40, and A is 35. So what I'm going to do on this is, first of all, I recognize I've got an angle, I've got a side, I've got another side. That's all I know. I can't do law of cosines. I can't do law of sines. Well, I can do law of sines. It's going to force me to use law of sines. And since the angle is acute, I must find H to kind of go with that. So I use the formula H equals B sine of A. h equals 40 sine of 55, or h is 32.766. Since the height of the triangle is 32, the opposite side is 35, and b is 40, we can see that it's going to be the two triangle case again. One acute and one obtuse. So our first triangle that we're going to have is we've got B is 40, we've got A is 35, and angle A is 55 degrees. So the first thing we need to find is angle B. That's what we have enough information to find. So we've got 35 over sine of 55 equals 40 over sine B. I cross multiply, get 35 sine of B equals 40 sine of 55. Sine of B equals 0.936, or B is 69.4 degrees. So I would add the two angles together, the 55 plus 69.4, subtract them from 180, that gives me C is 55.6 this time. And I would work out lost signs one more time to find the missing information. So we found angle B to start, which was 69.4 degrees, and then we used the triangle sum theorem to find the top angle was 55.6, and that let us find the bottom side, which was 35.2. Okay, next one we've got triangle number 2, the obtuse triangle. So to work this out, we're pretty much going to do the same thing we did last time, where we have B2 is 180 minus whatever our first answer for B was, which was 180 minus the 69.4. So our new B value is 110.6. And what that's going to let us find is angle C would be 27.4 and C is 10. So we started off, and that's really all we have to do. Once we find B, to find our second B, we just take 180 minus the first answer that we got. And that's really all that you have to do. Another thing that I'm going to send out is I'm going to send out the quiz that we took last time, so you can take a look at it, make sure that if there's any questions that you can take, or if you want to rework those problems, especially the ones on the table. If you want, I'd also highly recommend reworking some of your homework problems that we've already done. So if you have any questions, just please let me know. I'll have my iPad with me most of the night. Have a good one. I'll see you tomorrow.